Okay. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make simple syrup on the steam wand of an espresso machine. Now, first, what is simple syrup? Well, it is a simple syrup. So first, what is simple syrup? It is sugar that has been dissolved perfectly into water and then let cool. The reason that you use simple syrup is typically in cocktails where you want to sweeten them. I use them when I'm making affogatos because I like adding dissolved sugar into coffee. I don't have to stir it or have the sugar sit on the bottom of the coffee. So using dissolved sugar is quite nice. And there are generally two kinds of simple syrup. There's what I would call there's what's called just simple syrup or a 1-to-1 simple syrup, which is equal weights of sugar and water. And then there's a double syrup or a 2-to-1 syrup, which is 2 parts sugar for 1 part water. In this video, we're going to do both. And that double syrup is especially difficult because the sugar concentration is so high that it'll tend to precipitate out of the water. Now, first of all, you might be asking yourself, why do you even want to use an espresso machine to make simple syrup? There are a few reasons. First, it's just an easy way to heat water. Secondly, when you're making simple syrup, you have to actually stir it in order to get the sugar to dissolve. If you just put hot water and sugar, it doesn't do anything. And the steam wand does 2 things. It heats and it stirs. And then finally, you've got all the gear already. Why not do it this way? If you've got an espresso machine, it's just a handy way to make a small amount. It's just a handy way to make a reasonable amount of simple syrup, not buckets of it, but the kind of thing that 2 or 3 people might use at home. Let's get on and do it. First thing you'll need is a milk jug. Now I'm using a larger one. This is a 600 ml jug because I'm going to make a simple syrup. Sorry, it's a bit distracting. All right, we're not using that camera. Okay. Why don't we do that later? Okay. Sorry, it's very distracting. If we're not using it right now. Okay. I'm using a milk jug, a larger one. This is the 600 milliliter version, and that's because I'm going to be making a simple syrup both times with 200 mils of water. Once with 200 mils of sugar, and next with 400 mils of sugar. And since it is going to be roiling in there, I don't want it to splash out. I also use a thermometer because I don't need to boil it. I'm going to stop at a temperature where I see that the water and the sugar have fused together and it's clear. I'm not yet sure exactly what temperature that is, so I'm going to watch the thermometer and then keep in my head, that's as hot as I need to go next time. First thing to do is weigh out your sugar. Now, you can just use the measurement lines if you've got. You can just use the measurement lines if you've got a milk jug that has measurement lines, or you can use a scale to weigh it. In this case, because we're on video and most people don't have a milk jug with measurement lines, I'm going to weigh it. So let's start. With 200 grams of sugar. And to that 200 grams of sugar, you're going to add the same amount, 200 grams of water. Now, if you look inside here, you'll see sugar on the bottom and water on top. Next thing I'm going to do is just steam as I normally would, but it is going to make a high-pitched noise. And the reason for that is that the foam that usually develops on milk tends to dampen the sound, whereas if you don't have any foam creating, you're going to have that high-pitched noise. That's okay. It's called cavitation. It's just how it's going to be. You want to get the other camera on? Yeah, we can do this camera. see from that way. So I don't know. You can bring the camera really close. It's fine.
I just wanted the tape was telling me.
You can just basically put it right here. You're not going to be in my way.
On now.
Okay. Okay, you can see it's quite cloudy because the sugar is just being stirred. And as this heats up, it's going to turn transparent. Oh, we have a timer on. All right, well, that's fine. We'll just cut to that. Didn't realize we had a timer on.
Oh. Can keep going, no?
Yeah, it's fine. Make sure that the camera is still showing everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it's good.
See, hopefully you can see that it's clear.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's that one, and then I wanted to make a 2-to-1 syrup too, so let me just
Sure.
see if that.
You're just staying on camera too now.
Yeah, stay on camera too, and then. Okay, and
And maybe show that the bottle is clear.
yeah, I mean it's a little cloudy because I can adjust that on the thing. So I'm just going to move this out.
Oh.
Okay, we have to go back to.
Yeah, one.
Yeah, I got plenty of water there. Okay. All right, let's go back to one. You can see that I had to go to about 90 Celsius to get the whole sugar mix you can see I had to go to about 90 Celsius to get the whole sugar mix melted into the water. And it's a little difficult because the air bubbles from the steam are itself clouding it. So it's hard to tell the difference between cloudy sugar and cloudy air. But at 90, everything was well mixed up. And when I stopped the steam, you could see by looking in that all the sugars melted. And then here we've got a bottle that I've poured. You can see I've got a glass bottle that I've poured it into. It is slightly yellowy because this is not the world's most pure sugar, and that's what the impurities in the sugar are doing. They're coloring the water. Next, we're going to make a 2-to-1 simple syrup, which is going to be 400 grams of sugar to 200 grams of water. So that is really mostly sugar, and we're going to see if this idea actually works when we go to 90 Celsius to actually mix this much sugar. In the lunchtime conversation, Paul mentioned that the double syrup he makes, often the sugar precipitates. He can't even get it all in there. He can't get it all to dissolve. So let's see how that goes. So that was a 2-to-1 syrup that I heated a little bit higher, 95, because I was a little nervous about it. Let's see what it looks like. It's still at 93 Celsius, but you can see, all the sugar has melted. So it's made perfect simple syrup, super fast, with an espresso machine. I'd say this is worth doing if you've got the gear already and you like cocktails. Why not use the gear you've got?
Can you bring that cup a little closer to the camera if you can? Just for...
Yeah, what we can do is also, if you want, we can get close up of it.
Oh, you can't really carry it. It's too hot, isn't it? Yeah, okay. If you can bring it closer to the camera one, yeah, that would be great. Great, yeah, that's enough.
And you can see there that all the sugar has dissolved. We've got a slight yellowish tint to our sugar, but we have made perfect 2-to-1 simple syrup with an espresso machine, because if you've got the gear, you should use it. All right.
Perfect. Just
Yeah, should I just say thanks for watching or something like that?
Yeah, from the comments, just so you know.
Yeah.
You can close first and then we can do comments.
Okay.
Just close the video.
Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments if you successfully make simple syrup on your espresso machine and how it goes.
Okay, so comments, one is a bit unrelated, but while you're here, what are the max bars of pressure between the steamer and the XL and double XL?
Okay. So the question is, what's the difference between the maximum pressure between the XL and the double XL, or even the Pro? So first of all, it does depend on the steam wand tip. The tip is essentially what's pushing back on the steam coming out. And if you get a steam wand tip, for example, a 3-hole tip, and you put on the XL, you're going to get less steam pressure than if you use the 1-hole tip on the XL. So that's the first thing. The next is, as you increase the steam flow rate, your pressure is going to go up. Now here I've got a triple XL model, which is forthcoming next year, and I went up to 5 bar of pressure. Now that's really high because most commercial steam peaks out at 2.8 bar. That's the legal limit because boilers contain steam and they might explode if they go beyond 2.8 bar. On the decent, we don't have a boiler, we're always open, and so we're legally allowed to go much beyond that. That's 5 bar of pressure, certainly a lot. Now, I went for a lot of pressure on purpose. I made the steam heater go to 170 Celsius, and I had a 1.2 milliliter per second flow rate on there because I wanted to really stir that sugar up. I'm not sure I would do that with milk as intensely unless I were doing like a venti with 20 ounces of milk. So to answer your question, it depends on your voltage and the model, but generally I'd say the Pro is somewhere around 1.4 bars of pressure, and XL is going to bump that up to something like 2.2. The double XL is in the 2.8 to sort of 3.5 range, and the triple XL can go as high as, that was 5.8 bar on the triple XL.
Great. Steven says, looks like I'm going to start making house syrups this way.
Cool.
Peter is asking you if you can drink it.
This is currently sitting at 79 Celsius, which is going to badly burn me if I drink it. So no, I'm not going to drink this.
Okay, he tried. Stephen is asking if there are issues with the sugar gunking up the steam one tip faster.
Okay, so the question is, does sugar gunk up the steam one faster than milk? The answer is no, sugar is less bad than milk. First reason, sugar dissolves in water. So obviously if I did this a lot, I would probably get some hot water and just dunk the steam wand in afterwards. There is some sugar on the outside of that steam wand now. I should use a quite wet towel to wipe that off. But unlike milk, which burns and sticks, sugar can be taken off as long as it doesn't turn to caramel. So no, I have made scrambled eggs and miso soup and matcha tea on the steam wand. I would say scrambled eggs are the worst idea in terms of sticking and damage. This is on the better side of ideas, probably actually better than steaming milk.
Next question, can you share a steaming profile for syrups?
A steaming profile for
syrups, for what you just made.
Oh, okay. You mean show it on screen?
If you can, yeah.
Yeah. If you switch to the tablet, they will see. That is the steam profile. So it started at 165 and held on at about 155, starting at about 3.5 bar, and then 4, 4.5, peaking almost at 6 bar.
Cool. Next question. And is it popular to make and select quote-unquote steam profiles? I don't know if that question makes sense.
So the question is it popular to make steam profiles? You don't really share steam profiles. What you have is the ability on here, and if you switch to the tablet view, I will show, there is this slider here which lets you change in real time the flow rate. By changing the flow rate, you are essentially changing how strong your steam is. And it is fairly common for people to, for example, make a smaller drink and dial that back. Or Paul, when he's doing latte art, brings it way back, so he steams really slowly, giving himself a lot of time to build the foam up. If, however, you're steaming, for example, 2 milks and you want to do it quickly, you crank it up and you get more heat output.
Cool. If you can just ask if anyone has last questions.
Okay, any last questions on steaming or sugar syrup or anything else?
Yeah, while you're there.
While I'm here. I'll be back tomorrow or I'll be back Monday.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone.